We don't want to rush it, but when my officers are in face of significant danger, we have to act and act quickly. And so, but that said, we're certainly not going to compromise the safety of any of the protesters that were present. So we did deploy the gas, and we rendered the area safe.
Chief, can you talk about the difference between protesting peacefully and correctly for George Floyd and then staying past the curfew and thumbing your nose at law enforcement?
Well, it's been it's just a small segment of the group. You know, by and large, the protesters that we've dealt with over the last 3 days have truly been supported. We support their message. We will continue to support the message. But what we cannot support when you talk about damaging property and there's a significant public safety issue, those things we cannot support. Otherwise, we'll continue to work with and support their First Amendment right. I feel like they feel. What happened to Mr. Floyd should have never happened. It was horrific. And we're angry about it. But the best way to address our anger is that we protest in a peaceful manner.
Chief, is there a little frustration being that you have to deploy tear gas when this department has made some very active efforts and strides in trying to bridge the gap, trying to build rapport, trust within the community, probably one of the few departments in the country that will do press conferences alongside not only clergymen but activists and community organizers?
Well, let me, and I'm glad you brought that up, because for one, Detroiters stand with us. Detroiters support that they don't want people coming in to our city who are not from here creating chaos and ravaging the city. They don't want it. So Detroiters support us. We've had numerous conversations with the community about this. They're angry about outsiders coming in here. The outsiders have no vested interest in the city. But that said, we still are going to certainly remain patient and professional, but we have to always err on the side of public safety.
When they were chanting, kneel with us, kneel with us, kneel with us, what was going through your mind?
Well, I wasn't here to, what was going through my mind is when I got numerous reports of our officers being attacked. I'm talking about railroad ties. I'm talking about some combustive type powder. Yesterday they were using M80s. They were using, whenever we deployed gas, they had items to diffuse it. So there was they were willing not to go anywhere.
Have any of your officers needed medical attention for their injuries?
Well, since these protests started? Well,
tonight?
Not tonight. I've got no report of injuries. But again, I just praise the work of the men and women of the Detroit Police Department, the professionalism, execution through their training, with precision, but keeping mindful of safety. Safety first. Safety to those who we're trying to get to comply. Safety to our officers, very important.
Chief Perez, as we talked throughout the last couple of days, your officers have been very patient. Last night, tonight as well, they even stood there in line, not even engaging with the protesters. You mentioned attacks. What was the initial, okay, this is enough, where you guys had to interfere, you guys had to interact?
The line is drawn when you start attempting to inflict significant injury on police officers. It happened last night. We responded. It happened this evening. It wasn't just the curfew. It was the response. And so, I mean, I wish I had a railroad tie that I could show you. Imagine getting hit with a railroad tie. And then the distraction devices they were using was M80s. And certainly, it's a recipe for disaster. But our officers are patient. They didn't overreact. Even when being pelted with projectiles, they didn't overreact to that. They stood the line, and this group, and it's hard for me to call a group that's engaging in criminal activity protesters, because the protesters that have converged on the city over the last 2 days, the vast majority have been peaceful. We've supported them. We've been patient. So this is not about them. We support their message, and we will continue to support their message.
Chief, there were some allegations made when they were speaking earlier tonight that there were some instances of perhaps excessive force during the protest last night. A girl said she was body slammed by an officer. There's a video of one guy walking away from an officer and being pushed a couple of times into the ground.
Was that last night?
Yeah, I believe that was last night.
There was one that we're investigating that was brought to the department, my attention. We opened an investigation into that. There was a video attached to it. So I take any allegations of misconduct serious. And certainly if we find that the officer's actions were improper, that officer will be held accountable. But the vast majority of officers are doing what we need them to do. At this point, we're investigating allegations. So anybody who feels they were treated unjust, you report to the Detroit Police Department. We will open a complaint investigation.
Also, according to the video, have you identified the officers involved? I know you say, you guys are always open and honest.
We did, in fact, and I'm glad you asked that question, we did identify the one officer that was pushing. We're still in the process. I guess there was a second officer. We have not identified that officer yet. And so we're scouring through body-worn cameras. As you know, our officers are equipped with body-worn cameras. But we did identify the one officer, and we are actively investigating that.
Any plans on meeting those who organized these latest rounds of protests, Tristan Taylor in particular, or anyone who was organizing this?
I got to tell you, I will sit down with anyone. Many of the activists and community leaders that, I'm going back 7 years, who didn't always agree with this department. And I sat down and met with them. And so I will continue to do that. In fact, I think Reverend Rideout, who stands behind me, Reverend Rideout set me up with one of the protesters for a sit-down meeting. I'll meet with anyone. But I don't want you to lose sight that we do have some outsiders coming in. It's not about a conversation. It's about wreaking havoc on our city. And we know that. They come prepared to do damage. I mean, when you talk about railroad ties, bottles, rocks, and the officers are standing there, that's not an opening for a peaceful demonstration. That does not honor Mr. Floyd's name. It just doesn't. If we're going to honor Mr. Floyd, let's do so in a very respectful way.
Chief Mayor Duggan mentioned the curfew. He said it'll go on as long as you think or deem possible or feasible. And based on your reaction from last night and tonight, how long do you think this curfew would be in effect based on what happened in the last 2 nights?
We'll evaluate. It's a constant evaluation. So it just depends. I can't give you a timeline. I wish I could tell you we're going to end it now. And that's really dictated by the individuals that have been converging on our city and are continuing to violate the law. These are law violators. And I'm not talking about the protesters. If it's just the protesters, this is a good thing. We're talking about the law violators only. And as long as we're going to have law violators present in our city, trying to damage property, inflict injury or harm to our officers or any other community member, then as far as I'm concerned, the curfew stays. It's not indefinite. We're going to do everything we can, but if it means sitting down with some, I'll be more than willing to do it. But when you got folks that we've arrested who are from out of state, there's probably not a likelihood that we're going to sit down. They're going to leave here and go home. And to those who live in cities far from here in the state, they're probably not going to sit down. What's your interest in the city of Detroit?